Thanks for staying on. You're still live on Breakfast Show on GTV. We are hosting the Minerals Commission as we do most Wednesdays, every Wednesday in fact, and they get the opportunity to explain some of the happenings in the industry to their community and the rest of us. Today we are going to have, like I've said, an explosive conversation. It means we are going to be talking about explosives, and we are going to look at the safety implications as enshrined in the Minerals and Mining Explosives Regulations 2012 LI 2177. Last week we concluded our operational manual and small-scale mining and community mining operations conversation, and this week we are moving into another stage of discussions. I'm privileged to have been joined at the table today by Mr. Richard Kofi Adjei. He's a Chief Inspector of Mines of the Minerals Commission. Good morning, Mr. Adjei, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
So, like I said, we're going to be discussing the explosives management and safety as per the Minerals and Mining Explosives Regulations 2012 LI 2177. Mr. Adjei will help me in that conversation. In a few minutes, the President will be addressing a Peace and Security Forum at the Kofi Annan Training Center. And when the team is ready to link us with the venue, we will take a quick break and we'll listen to the President and then return to the program. So do take note. Remember, we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. Turn on notifications for GBC's pages because we stream every segment separately. That way, if you have a segment of interest, the notification will pop up on your screen and then you can join. Of course, we want you to watch the whole program. But if you can't and you're interested in specific segments, then the notification button is your friend. Mr. Adjei, good morning and welcome once again. We are talking about explosives. In the mining industry, is it always the case that explosives are used before the minerals are extracted?
Yes. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We have two types of rock formation. We have the soft rock formation, or let me say the alluvial type, which doesn't require any blasting. Then we have the hard rock formation. And examples of hard rock formations are the granite. I don't know whether you've ever traveled on the Shire Hills Akosombo stretch. Yeah. When we are going to Akosombo on your right, you see a number of them. We call them outcrops or granite. Then in the mine too, we have the hard rock. So hard rock are used for so many things. For example, the granite, they are used for road construction, they are used for civil works and all that. So in order to fragment it, you need to drill holes in the rock and load them with explosive before you can fragment the rock.
Which fragmenting here means?
Fragmenting means you are breaking it into the sizes that you want for it to be crushed to other sizes. So that's the meaning of fragmentation. So when you say fragment, it means you are loading the rocks with explosives and undertake a blast. So that's the meaning of fragmentation. And you cannot do that without using explosives.
Okay. And
explosives comes in three forms. We have the high explosives or the boosters. Example is what I'm holding. In fact, these are dummies, so no worries.
Okay, now I'm calm because I was beginning to get worried. Okay, there are explosives in the studio. Okay. Careful, but they are dummies, so.
Yes. Then we have the initiators or low explosives. These are examples of initiators. Then the third one is called blasting agents. They aid in blasting. The high explosives are the ones, for example, the boosters are the ones that will go into the drill holes. So what you do is that these are called downline holes, explosives. They go into the hose. So they are called down lines. So you see some hose over here. So you insert it, it will come out and insert in the second hole again. Then it will come up here. Then you insert it into the hole or load it into the hole. So when you insert the detonator into the high explosive, you call it the primer or base charge. So this combination will go into the hole. Then you leave this one at the surface. So you do for number of holes depending on what you want to achieve. Maybe 100 holes, 50 holes, or etc. Then you connect this one. It's called trunk lines to the various combinations. These ones that are up
on the surface.
On the surface. Then when you are done, you connect it with what we call a safety fuse. Unfortunately, I couldn't get one to bring to the studio. Safety fuse. So it is the safety fuse that when you are ready, you will light for the whole thing to explode. I hope you get it.
I get it. And there's a whole procedure, as you just explained.
Yes. And when you're about to light, what you do is that you have a vehicle waiting for you, and the safety fuse burns 2 feet per minute, and it is 8 feet. So which means the whole line is going to take 4 feet before the whole connection will explode. So you time yourself, because you have to run to and join the car for the car to take you to a safe place before you can, how do you call it?
This is interesting. So you light the fuse, it gives you a certain number of minutes to get to safety.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 8 minutes because it's 2 feet per minute. Sorry, it's 4 minutes because it's 8 feet. So you ask yourself whether you'll be able to run to a safe place before the 4 minutes is done.
And what's the distance that is considered safe?
The distance that is considered safe is 300 meters. But you know you are going with a vehicle, so you have a safe area.
So you can't do this on foot, you're saying? You need to be in a vehicle?
Yes.
Even if you are the fastest runner there is, you need to be in a vehicle.
To be on the safer side, because this is 4 minutes. You don't know whether when you are running, maybe you fall down or something, and the thing will go off and you'll be caught up in the blast. So it's better you have a car, so that when you light it, you join the car, then the car will take you to a safe place.
In a mine setup, where are explosives supposed to be kept?
Explosives are kept in a magazine.
So this is not the magazine that we read.
No,
it's
no.
In mining parlance, a magazine means what?
A magazine means a house that is used to store explosives.
Okay.
You know, in the security setup, when you say magazine, that's where they store their rifles and their guns. But in the mining parlance, explosives, we use what we call civil or commercial explosives. So that is the place that it is used to store the explosives. And it's either a cemented building or a metal container. If it's a metal container, inside of the metal container should be lined with plywood because of the heat. Then all the nails that you use in nailing the plywood to the container must be puttied. Puttied is just a sawdust plus a chemical, because the nails should not be exposed. The nails should not be exposed in the magazine. So all the nails that are used are countersunk with the putty, and the inside of the container is lined. Then the container has what we call windows to allow ventilation. Because explosives are initiated, and what explosives don't like is heat. So we don't want heat to stay inside the magazine. In a building to let's say a concrete building is the same. Then you have to surround the magazine with what we call ramp of loose earth. When I was entering, I saw sandbags. You know, when in terms of war, excuse me, the soldiers will hide behind the sandbags and shoot. The essence of the sandbag is that it cushions the gun, the bullet. So in much the same way, the loose earth ramp, in case of sudden detonation of explosives in the magazine, it will cushion it, so that it will not spill over to the environment. So that is the essence of the earth ramp.
So these are the stationary places where all these explosives are kept. And so you have to follow these guidelines to even set up the facility that will store the explosives.
Yes.
Are there specific guidelines to regulate transporting or moving the explosives as well?
Yes. The law says that if you are transporting explosives from point A to point B, number one, it should be done within the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. What it means is that we don't want you to transport explosives in darkness. That is point number one. The vehicle that you are going to use to transport explosives shall be the type approved by the Chief Inspector of Mines, because the vehicle is supposed to have certain features, so that when you see it, you see that that is an explosive vehicle coming. The head is supposed to be separated from the body. It's just like the Kia. You know, we have the head and we have the bucket. But this one is an enclosed body. And in the head, if you are transporting explosives, it allows only 3 people to sit in the compartment. That's the driving compartment. That is the driver, the blast man or the explosive handler, and a policeman. So the arrangement is that the policeman will sit beside the window, and the blast man will sit in the middle, then the driver. The reason is that explosives, when you are transporting explosives, the vehicle should not travel more than 60 kilometers per hour. So the reason why the blast man is sitting in the middle, like always you'll be watching the odometer to see whether you are going beyond that speed. Then the essence of the policeman is that in the event of traffic, because explosives are dangerous chemical, he will get down and control the traffic. Then the vehicle should have on it fitted with 2 fire extinguishers. Even some of them are have what we call fire suppression system, so that in the event of any fire, the suppression system will automatically work. Then the vehicle also should have 2 flags with the inscription "Ye," one in front, one at the back. So when you see a vehicle containing explosive coming, you see the flag shaking, just like the usual thing the general do. When you see a military vehicle with a flag on it, it means the general is inside. When the flag is tied, it means the general is not inside. It's the same thing. So when you see the flag flying, it means we have explosives inside. And again, the exhaust of the vehicle should point upwards. You shouldn't point downwards.
Why is that?
The reason being that, you know, some of the exhaust, they blow, all of them, they blow heat. So the interaction between the exhaust and the street can cause a spark. So that's the reason why all explosive vehicles are supposed to have their this thing pointing up. That is the exhaust pointing up.
I find it quite fascinating, because does that mean that there are special vehicles that only transport explosives?
Yes.
And they are the only ones that are that are allowed to be used?
Yes.
And all this is captured in the regulations?
In the regulations, yes.
What else does the regulation capture when it comes to use of explosives on the field?
On the field, the regulation says that, number one, the person going to do the charging should not use a metal in opening the boxes. They are stored in boxes because of the spark that I talked about earlier on. So you're supposed to use either a copper, brass, or wood in opening there. And the person doing the charging shall not smoke. The person doing the charging should make sure that the explosives is at least 30 meters away from ignition or fire. The person shall also not be intoxicated. and the person should be certified. It should be a competent person, or should have the ticket from the Chief Inspector of Mines to do that work.
So anyone who is employed to detonate explosives at a mining site has to have certification?
Yes, certification. So you're supposed to have this booklet. It's called it's a Certificate of Competency. So which means the person...
To handle explosives?
Yes.
To actually do the blasting?
The blasting.
How does one come by a certificate of that nature?
Number one, the person should be at least 21 years of age or 21 years old. It's in the regulation, regulation 57. Number two, the person should have first aid certificate, certified first aid certificate. Certified in the sense that all first aid certificate administered by St. John's or Red Cross expires after 3 years. So the person should have a valid first aid certificate. Number three, the person should have gone through a medical examination for the doctor to certify that he has no mental infirmity or bodily infirmity likely to interfere with the efficient discharge of his duties. Then lastly, the person should be examined by a board of examiners instituted by the Chief Inspector of Mines. And the board examiners comprise an inspector and official from the mine. So they will be doing the, interview. And if the need arises, they will even send the person to the field for him to conduct the blast in a safe manner before he's issued with this certificate. But before he's issued with this certificate, we will let him go through what we call CRD Form 59. What it means is that he'll go through, or his fingerprints will be taken like this. This one was done by one Detective Sergeant Zandu at the Takwa Division of the Ghana Police Service. And the reason being that you are going to handle explosives, you should not have any criminal record, past criminal record. Because in the olden days, when the whites came, when they brought their laws known as Gold Mining Protection Ordinance, and some people were giving blasting certificate, what they were doing at the end of the day, they were blasting in our river bodies for fishing. So because of that, when you read the criminal code, section 11, it said nobody should use explosive in fishing. That is why we have to make sure we go through this. So when you go through this and the police write to us that you don't have any criminal record against you, then we issue you with this book. And this book is not your property. So when you read it, say this book remains the property of the Inspectorate Division of Minerals Commission. So let's say you are working at Anglo Gold or Boise. You are issued with this book to conduct blasting there. And you resign. Anglo Gold will have to return this book to Minerals Commission. So let's say you find a job at Newmont. Then Newmont will write to us that, Madam, there was one Madam Thelma, working with the Anglo Gold or Boise with the blast number. Your number is here. And this number is unique to everybody. So you just quote the number in the letter. Then we'll fetch for this book and send it to Newmont. So when Newmont receives this book, then you can go ahead and do your work as a blast man. So
the company doesn't keep it, and the person, the individual does not keep it as well?
It's the company that keeps it, not the individual.
Okay. But if there's a termination of contracts along the way, it's returned to the Minerals Commission.
To the Minerals Commission.
So is there some kind of courses that you have to read to pass, or to, take the boxes to get this certification?
Yes, you should know the regulation. We give them a syllabus, so you should know the regulations. Then you should also know how to handle explosives. Then again, the company will take you, the company submitting you for the examination will take you through induction and training. And the induction and training records shall be documented.
So it's the companies that submit candidates?
Yes, so individual cannot come because of the criminal thing, that intent that we don't know what you do after obtaining the book. So it's the company that submit candidates for examination in terms of blasting. So if you are coming to write the examination as an individual, it's not permitted.
Interesting. I'm sure that you are also learning a lot about explosives and how to operate them safely in the mining environment. I am as well. Join the conversation via WhatsApp number 055 5561034, and let's read some of your comments out loud. I'm asking all these questions because sometimes people watch some of these programs, they hear of an opportunity and they're thinking, I might be interested in doing something like that. So we ask for their benefit so they know that it's not as open for all as some may have been thinking. Now, we are talking about the site and the explosives. Is there a buffer between where a blast is supposed to happen and then the nearest community or nearest structure or residential facility?
Yes. When you read this law, Regulation 176, there is a term called exclusion blasting zone. What it means is that exclusion blasting zone, what it means is that where you are taking the blast should be 500 meters away from the community. So if the blast is going to take place here, it means the nearest community should be at least 500 meters away from the blast. Because of the fly rocks, many times you hear people that, oh, they've damaged my building.
Exactly what I'm building up to, because if the 500 meters is the accepted distance from the blasting site to the nearest community, how can we have those reports being made? Does that mean the regulations are not being followed?
No, not that the regulations are not being followed. What is happening is that, let me give you an example. When a quarry is about to start, when you acquire the granite through a license given to you by the minister, immediately you start the road construction to the site, you see people encroaching because mines or mining is coming. So you see people encroaching. When you go to Bohun, that is Ashanti region, most of the granite have been encroached, even to the extent that there's a quarry called ESM at Intri Bohun. Somebody has gone to build his house on the granite, not even outside the granite, on the granite. Currently, one of the miners, for security reasons, I don't want to mention the name, they are about to start their north mine, and speculative buildings or structures are springing up towards the mine. And they do these things at night. They do these things at night. So what we are doing as a commission is that, in respect of the granite or the quarries, we have proposed a team. And the team comprises of, or a committee, the district chief executive of that area, or the district, who shall be the chairman. An inspector of mines is a member of that committee. An officer from the Environmental Protection Agency is also a member of the committee. The traditional ruler of the area, because they normally give them the land. Then the assemblyman of that area, and 2 members from the Commercial Quarry Association. So this is what we have proposed. In fact, we started during the latter part of last year, but we went into election. So currently the district chief executives are in place, and we are going to constitute these committees, and it will be inaugurated by our sector minister. So because many a times when they encroach and you go to the assembly, the inspectors go to the assembly, they say, oh, they don't have building permit. If they don't have building permit, what do? Then you have to demolish the building. Because in the assembly, they have what we call town and country planning unit. I think they've changed their name. They call them, is it special planning and something unit.
So you're in touch with the assemblies to help keep the 500 meter suggestion in place. What happens to those who don't follow all these regulations as we wrap up?
In respect of the holders of this certificate, if you don't follow the law, the regulation says that your certificate either can be endorsed, withdrawn, or cancelled. Then again, you can also be fined. The company can be fined. In terms of Regulation 56 of LI 2182, $10,000. You will be given a date by which you are to pay the fine. If you don't pay, Regulation 57 says that as long as the fine stays, every day you pay $1,000. Then in terms of the assemblies or the quarries, those who don't follow the explosive regulation or the mining regulations, we can even close your quarry down. Or the mining company, whole mining company can be closed down. Because we are close with that power to do that. That is why we do what we call constant workshop for them, so that they will adhere to the tenets of the regulations.
What's your final comment on the explosives management and safety regulations, and what's the key call for players in that industry?
Well, my final comment is that you know, when you read Article 24 of the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, it says that every employer shall make sure that his employees work in a safe, conducive, and healthy environment. So it's important that all workers who are trained to handle explosives periodically are made to go through retraining, induction, and also be abreast with the law, so that they will not do anything that will affect the community or the mine. Because we look at two things: affecting the community and also affecting the community, affecting the mine and the community in which the mine exists.
Thank you so much for sharing a part of your morning with us. Mr. Richard Kofi Adjei is the Chief Inspector of Mines at the Minerals Commission. He's been telling us about the explosives management and safety as per the Minerals and Mining Explosives Regulation 2012 LI 2177. We've learned quite a number of things on the program today. You can get a license to handle explosives if you're put forward as a candidate by a mining company. So there is some criteria you would have to meet, including passing a CID criminal background check. So an ex-convict cannot be licensed to handle explosives. There are special vehicles that transport explosives as well, and they also must meet certain criteria. There's a buffer of 500 meters that needs to be maintained in order to safely carry out the explosions that are needed to get us all the stuff for building roads and building other facilities for the country. So all this feeds into the knowledge basket that we've been building up with the Minerals Commission every Wednesday morning right here on GTV Breakfast. And Mr. Richard Kofi Adjei has been helping us with today's conversation. Thank you, sir, and we'll see you again hopefully another time. Thank you for joining the conversation.